record on this computer. All right, so we are recording. So welcome, class of 2021. I don't think anybody could have guessed that this is how we were going to welcome you, but alas, here we are. So welcome. This is your senior counseling lesson. We call it post-secondary action because we are ready to start putting your plans into action for what you're going to do after high school. So let's just get this started off here on the agenda. Just to give you a quick overview. If my computer wants to work. Oh, Lord have mercy. Look, I'm recording it and now I'm going to have issues. All right, guys. Sorry, give me 1 second. This has not happened. Lord. All right. Let me stop sharing and then reshare. All right, Miss Von Lincoln, I'm going to try to give you the remote control, see if it works for you while I troubleshoot on my end. All right, looks like you were able to get in. Okay, so on the agenda, we'll just pop in from here. This is just what we're going to go over today and pretty much in the order that we're going to go over it. Post-secondary options, finding your fit, the actual process to college applications, FERPA, Naviance research scholarships, upcoming events, transcripts, recommendations, and how families can work together in harmony. So if you haven't yet seen Cobb's new website, Cobb has a new website, Pope has a new website. Is it now not working for you? There we go. And also the Pope School Counselors have a new website. So we decided that we didn't love our old website. There was just too many words on it and it was hard to find information. So we have completely revamped and we hope that you find it more user-friendly. Obviously, if you can't find anything on there, please do email your counselor. We can still send you direct links to certain places. But one thing you will notice is on the counselor screen, we have the Pope School Counseling Office's personal meeting room open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. And that's for any students who, like if you would have been in the school and just popped by for a question, this is your way to pop by. This is also a way if you're in crisis or if you know someone who's in crisis and you want to make sure to see somebody as soon as possible, this is the best way to do that as well. So Monday through Friday, so normal school hours, 8 to 4. If you go to the counselors tab and click on this, it'll open up the Zoom meeting. If someone else is in there, then we'll just kind of let you in the waiting room in order just so we can protect privacy. But we do have this available. We also have our phone available. So if you want to call the office, our main counseling line, someone is there Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is a picture of our lovely counseling staff. Unfortunately, Ms. Von Lincoln's not on here. We'll have to like superimpose her in there somewhere. But the counselors are listed down at the bottom by alphabetically by last name. And then as I mentioned, Ms. Von Lincoln is joining us this whole school year. So she may be another face and another name that you'll be seeing just helping us out in the office as well. And I'm actually going to let Ms. Von Lincoln take over here because she is an intern and she loves to do things with us. So take it away, Ms. Von Lincoln. Oh, are you muted? Is that the problem? Let me see if I can unmute you.
All right. Yeah, so I was trying to figure out myself. All right. So, hey guys. Yes, I'm Miss Von Lincoln, and yeah, really excited to hopefully get to interact with you more in the future. But yeah, so let's talk about college and career. So, your post-secondary destination, right? So there are a lot of options for once you leave high school. So there's military service, you can go straight into the workforce, there's technical college, 2-year colleges, 4-year colleges, and other options. So you can talk amongst yourselves if you're with another person, but think about what those other options might be. And this information that we're sharing with you on the PowerPoint, like Ms. De Silva said, is going to be recorded. And so it'll be on the website later. So don't feel like you have to write down everything that you see. But here's some information about some of those options, right? So we've got like technical and 2-year colleges, 4-year colleges, military workforce, and then gap year is another thing that you might not have thought about before. I imagine most of you are in here and really interested in learning more about how that process works for getting into a 4-year or 2-year even college. So we're going to look more at like the college aspect tonight. So if you're saying, I want to go to college, where do I start? Okay, we've got several steps, and we're going to dive into each of these steps a little bit deeper. So the first one is going to be to know the factors colleges look for in applications, right? Second would be to build a college list, okay? And then third would be to begin your application process. And then finally, pay attention to deadlines. All right, so let's look at those a little closer. Let me click. There we go. All right, so know the factors for college admission. All right, so it looks like a lot of you are with family or a friend maybe. So go ahead and talk to the person next to you. What do you guys think are the factors for college admission? I'll give you a couple seconds. You can talk to somebody next to you, or think about it if you're by yourself. All right. So I saw some conversations happening. All right. So some of the ones that you might have thought about would be, I don't know why it's not letting me click very well. There we go. See it coming. All right. So this first one, Mr. Silva, you might have to take back over your screen.
Yeah. It's going slow. Look, it's like
it's coming. It's like it's
there we go.
There it is. All right. So the big three that you probably thought of first would be your grades and GPA, test scores, and rigor. So what we mean by rigor is going to be like honors classes, AP classes, dual enrollment, those kinds of things. All right. Some other things that you might have thought about.
You know, we haven't had any technical issues.
I know.
All of the other ones. Why does it have to be tonight when we're recording it?
You know, just so everyone can laugh.
It works.
All right, so extracurricular activities would be one. Let's see if it'll come up with more essays, right? That's probably another one you maybe thought of, letters of recommendation, demonstrated interest. And then some schools might also require an audition or an interview, okay? So those are the big factors related to college admission. All right, so building a college application list. Where do you start? All right, so you may have heard some of these terms, but we're gonna talk about reach, probable, or safety schools for you. Okay, so what we mean by reach, those are gonna be your schools that you might be accepted. It's a little right out of reach, okay? Or it's right there at the tip, okay? So you're gonna apply to maybe a couple of those. Probable, right? Sounds like what it should be. You're probably going to be accepted. And then safety is your ones that's like, yeah, I'm gonna get accepted into this school, okay? But how do we determine that? Is what we're gonna look at next. So how do you figure that out, right? So you need to know your academic profile. And so what we mean by academic profile is gonna be your core unweighted GPA. So we'll talk more about GPA here in a minute. Standardized test scores, and again, we'll dive deeper into that as well. And then curriculum or rigor, like what we were talking about with like honors and AP and dual enrollment classes. So you're gonna search for the college's freshman profile, okay? And what that is that's gonna be the average or mid 50% GPA and test scores of their current freshman class. So that's not the admissions requirement. And this is pretty easy information to find. I went looking for it earlier just to see how easy it was to find. So I researched a school and just put in freshman profile, and the first link that popped up on Google was exactly the information I was looking for, okay? So Googling is our friend, right? And then you're gonna compare how you fit into the college profile. All right, so anybody remember bell curves, right? Okay, so let's talk about where it's at. So reach, probable, or safety school for me. So you're trying to look for colleges, right? So let's take our example of Fake College, Marietta, Georgia. Their high school GPAs range from 3.26 to 3.75 and are calculated on academic courses only. So we'll talk more about that here in a minute. And here are their ranges for their mid 50% of students, okay? So what we mean by that is, I don't know, can you see my cursor? All right, so this line right here, that's the 25th percentile. We don't remember our bell curves, right? And over here, this one's gonna be our 75th percentile. So this yellow part here, this middle part, that's our mid 50%, okay? So the middle 50% of admitted students, okay, these are the scores that they earned, okay? So their middle 50% earned, right, those GPAs that were listed that we talked about above. And then also maybe they got between an 1100 and a 1240 on their SAT, and between a 23 and a 27 on their ACT, okay? So that's their mid 50%. So let's say it's you and you're looking at this school trying to decide, is this a reach, a probable, or a safety school for me? So let's say that you've got a 1200 SAT, 25 ACT, and your GPA is at like a 3.3, right? You're gonna fall right here in the middle, right? So that would be a probable school for you, okay? Let's say you did a little bit better on the SAT. You got a 1300 SAT, 27 ACT, and you have a 3.8 GPA, okay? Where are you gonna fall? Right, so if you're looking at this green range, right, that's where you would fall, and so that would be a safety school for you. But let's say you got an 1100 SAT, maybe a 21 ACT, and you're at like a 3.0 for your GPA, right? So that'd be you right over here. You're approaching that yellow range, but you're still kind of in the red. So that's gonna be a reach school for you. Okay, so that's what you're determining when you're looking at these schools and comparing your academic profile to the schools. All right, so more about GPAs, right? So your academic GPA, this is the thing that is not on your transcript, but what a lot of colleges actually want to know. So you might also hear it described as a core GPA or a core academic GPA. Mostly what that means is this is gonna be based off of your English, math, science, social studies, and world languages courses, okay? So your fine arts, your PEs, those aren't going to be counted in this core GPA. It's usually viewed unweighted, and so what we mean by unweighted would be that if you have quality points attached to your GPA because you took an honors class or an AP class, they're going to take those away and reduce it to this very core GPA. Because a lot of colleges want to do their own things with how they look at that rigor, okay? So they're just going to reduce it down to that very core GPA. Your overall GPA is what's on your transcript. So you should have gotten it in the mail, okay? So you can look at that. It's great to know, but then you can kind of forget it because it's not helping you necessarily in this, this stance right here, okay? Because again, most colleges are going to recalculate that GPA however they see fit and just not consider your transcript's overall GPA, okay? And then Hope GPA is just another way to calculate GPA, and we'll talk more about that later. All right, so things to consider about GPA. So most colleges consider, again, only that academic or core GPA, okay? The information is gonna vary widely about how they calculate it, and kind of the best way to go about this, if you are unsure about what college you're interested in and what they do, is to call the admissions office. It'll take maybe 5 minutes, okay? And you can ask them directly. Again, this is a really easy Google search. If you Google the school name, admissions office, you can even throw in the word phone number in there if you want, okay? It'll pop up. And who should be the one calling these colleges, these admissions offices? All right, if you said the student, you are correct, right? So student is the one who needs to make this phone call if this is something that you are trying to find out, okay? Student needs to do it. All right. All right, so you figured out your list of colleges that you want to apply to. Now what do you do? It'll come up. All right, so our quick steps to apply to college. So first, you're going to fill out an application for admission. Then you're going to send your transcript. Then you're going to send your test scores if available. And we'll talk a little bit more about that just because 2020 is 2020. And then lastly, you're going to send any supplemental materials. So applications for most colleges are found. Can you guess? If you said online, you are correct. Okay, so paper applications aren't really a thing anymore. And the best place to look for that application is going to be, you probably guessed it, on the college's website. That's the best place to look for it. Is there an application checklist? There may be one already on the website, and they'll let you know if those supplemental materials are even required. All their information is going to be on their websites. All right, so we're going to try this ourselves, okay? So if you have an extra device with you and you want to go ahead and try to search for some colleges yourself, just to see if you can find them, you are more than welcome to do that while I'm showing you this on my screen. So I'm going to share with you. Share. All right, so what you should be seeing right now is just, our basic Google here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look up, we were playing around with Georgia State's website just because it's an interesting one and maybe not as obvious as other colleges might be. So I just went straight to Georgia State's homepage, okay? So as soon as I get on there, I can say a couple different routes that I could take if I'm looking for the application process. So some of you, your eyes might have gone straight to this button down here that says how to apply. That's one way, okay? Some of you might have seen where it says admissions. That's another way. So when Ms. De Silva and I were looking at this for the first time, we got a little lost at first because, we're reading left to right. And so we went over here, we saw, oh, how to apply, and clicked on there, and it took us straight to the perimeter campuses page. And it's like, oh, that's not what we wanted. And then we went back and looked, oh, that's because it's an associate degree. So associate degree is that 2-year college degree, for those of you who weren't sure. Okay, so we're thinking more that we want to actually look at the bachelor degrees. So we go there, down here, how to apply. So we'll click that. And first things we see some deadlines, very important to note, okay? Keep scrolling. Oh, high school students. Hey, you guys are high school students, so we'll look there a little bit more. They've got a lot of deadlines here, good things to note. I'm gonna click get started. Right, and you're welcome to click around on websites. You can't hurt anything. You can't like accidentally apply to college, so play around with the websites. So what we see here, they have this list of steps to apply. So that's their college's checklist, okay? And they have this cute little, sounds virtual helper, I guess, to help you if you need help. So it says submit your application, pay application fee, submit high school transcripts, letter of recommendation is optional, test scores are optional, and check your status, okay? And then you would, keep going through the steps from there to create your account and start applying. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing, and hand it back to Ms. De Silva. But yeah, we'll hopefully get to meet more soon. And if you have questions, please ask.
Well, thank you, Ms. Von Lanken. And I hope that was a great break for you guys, because now it's me for the rest of the time. And I know some of you are just super excited about that. So we did leave this slide in the presentation because usually when we're in the classrooms, we walk around and let the students kind of try on computers. But there's certain parts of websites we want to make sure that you get to. Look for the essays, look for recommendations. Are they optional? How many different applications do they use? Lots of schools now are basically opening it completely up. They might have a direct to the institution, so like their own application. They might use Common App and Coalition. So how do you apply? Which can you use to apply? And if you have a question about, these are all the schools I want to apply to, which application should I use? stay ready for the senior workshops that I'm going to talk about, because that's a great place to ask those kind of questions. And also, where can you find scholarships or admission statistics, that kind of information. I don't know, Ms. Von Lincoln, I might need you to just run the remote for me. Something's wrong with my computer. See if you can click to the next slide. All right, we'll just let her be my remote control for tonight. I'll use my hands more, this will be fun. Okay, so, and you go ahead, just pull up the screen. So I did mention Common App and Coalition. This might be two things that you've come across already. Basically, the easiest way to describe both of these applications is that you fill out the biggest part, the demographics, all of that information. You do that once, and then you send your application and your essays and all of the other supplemental materials to the colleges individually. So ultimately, you do the big chunk of it just one time, but it's not necessarily that you're applying to lots of colleges at once. I wish that there was like one Common App and every college used it, but unfortunately, we are not there. Here's some terms you're going to come across a lot when it talks about deadlines. Regular deadline, every school is going to have one of those. You apply by a certain date, you hear by a certain date. Early action is ultimately the same thing as regular deadline. You just hear earlier. So you apply earlier and you hear earlier. Now, here's where you need to make the differentiation, though. Early action versus early decision. Early decision is binding. If you come across a college and it offers early decision, be very, very cautious using that. As a matter of fact, you're actually going to have to sign a lot of paperwork, and your parents are going to sign paperwork, and your counselor's going to have to sign paperwork. And that's just all because we want to make sure that you know what you're signing up for. There aren't many schools in the state of Georgia, except for private schools, that offer early decision. So it's not usually much of a concern, but like I said, just be very cautious if you come across that. The next one is single choice restricted early action. That is a mouthful for a group of colleges that only want you to apply to one of their colleges early. So a good example of this is the Ivy League schools. You can only apply to one Ivy League school early. If you want to apply to others, it would have to be during the regular decision. Then there's rolling, and rolling is when you apply, if you have all of your materials in by a certain date, you hear 4 to 6 weeks after that date. And that 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks, is dependent on the college. So basically, if you turn in everything today and your best friend turns in everything in a week, then you're going to hear a week before she will, or he will, whatever. And then priority deadlines, this is typically a term that's associated with scholarships, but just make sure you keep in mind the difference that may happen there. Sometimes scholarship deadlines happen before a regular decision deadline. And then sometimes scholarships you apply through the application. So this is just another piece to make sure that you are mindful of. Oh, the SAT and ACT. Let me just start by saying I don't have a lot of answers, and I'm very sorry I don't have a lot of answers. I promise if you ask a question, if I know the answer, I'll give it. If I don't know is an answer. So the first and foremost, you need to check with colleges you're applying to see what they're requiring for applications. I'm sure lots of you have heard this whole test optional term. That is going to be more and more popular, especially this year, and even possibly moving forward. So what test optional means is instead of taking the SAT or ACT, they're going to give you other things that you can turn in to show who you are as a student. Some colleges are doing like a graded assignment from school. Some are adding an essay. Some are asking for a resume. But it's important for you to check with the colleges you are applying to see what they require for that application. Oh, one thing we have heard lately is for a lot of these colleges in the application, they'll say, are you applying with tests or not with tests? What we understand is if you send tests, they are going to look at them. It's not like you can send tests and then say, oh, wait, don't look at those. So just be aware of that. If you are a person who tests well, and this is something that could benefit your application, see if you can get into a test. If you're a student who all along, you're like, you know what, I'm not just my numbers, I am so much more, then this is great for you. This is giving you the opportunity to show that you are everything beyond your numbers. Collegeboard.org, most updated SAT information. ACTstudent.org, most updated ACT information. I understand some people have gotten the runaround from College Board saying, no, call the school, they know. We don't have a lot of information. The University System of Georgia as a whole is test optional this year, but each individual college's website, each member school does have their information on their website. In case you don't know, the University System of Georgia, pretty much all public colleges in the state of Georgia. All right, so again, if we have a second device, and especially if the students are holding the second device, we're gonna log into Naviance. I'm gonna show you where some things live. You can do it now if you're comfortable, or you can wait and do it later. So there's kind of two ways to get to the Naviance website. You can go to cobbk12.org and click where it shows on the screen, find it fast, and then you'll click Naviance, and you'll use your Office 365 username and passwords to get in, students. Or you can go to the website that's at the bottom here, student.naviance.com/PopeHS. And families, just so you know, we did give access codes during junior advisement last year, but if you either don't have that code any longer, or if that code's not working for some reason, email your child's counselor and we can try to help sort that out. So once you go into Naviance, this is what your welcome screen should look like. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that your email address, students, is accurate. Parents, we keep your email addresses in a different system, but students, this is really the only way for us to collect email addresses that you are going to use often. So you're going to click About Me, and then you're going to click My Account, and then you're going to see a pencil. First of all, just look at your email. If your email is accurate, you're good. You don't have to do anything. If it's an email, maybe that's an old one, or maybe you don't have an email in there at all, click the edit, type in your email twice, and click Save. So until we are able to get CTLS up and running for the counseling department, which is a little more difficult because students aren't rostered to us in classes like you are to your teachers, email is going to be our main source of information. So please make sure the email that's listed in here for you students is accurate. Parents, when you log in on your side, you go to the same areas and you can also update your email address in there. But beware, parents, if you update your email address in Naviance, we also need to update it in our student record system, and it's best to email your counselor for that information. All right. So the next thing we need to talk about in Naviance is agreeing to waive FERPA. So first of all, what is FERPA? FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act of 1974, if the year matters to you. It is a very complex law, but ultimately FERPA protects your records. And so in order for us to send your records anywhere, you have to allow us to. So how does FERPA relate to college applications? It gives you the right to review confidential letters of recommendation if you're enrolled in college and that college saves the recommendations, or if you're 18 or older. And some of you may have read some news stories. There were some Ivy League schools that had some complications with this recently. But in your college application, in Naviance, and then if you do Common App, it also asks, they're probably gonna ask you to waive your right. So why would you wanna waive your right? Waiving your right lets colleges know that you don't intend to read your recommendations if and when you do get accepted to that college. And then also some recommenders may not write a letter for you if you don't waive your rights. So the first thing that people usually think with this is, well, wait a minute, if I can't see it first, I don't want it sent. Please keep in mind, if you're asking someone to write you a recommendation letter, they're probably not writing bad stuff. They're probably writing good stuff because they are recommending you to the college. So they want to be as supportive of you as possible. And that's why it's best if you can just let them be an open book, share everything about you. And if you do have concerns about it, I mean, discuss it with that person. You know, if you're worried about who you should request it from, talk to your counselor about it. But we would be happy to talk through any concerns that anybody has about sending recommendations. So if you want to go ahead and look at FERPA in Naviance, this is where you will go to do it. You do not have to do it right now. Absolutely not. But I will show you where it is just so you'll be able to find it later. So if you'll click About Me, and then you will click again under this drop-down menu, you'll click My Surveys, and then you'll click Surveys Not Started. So I did add a screen here, Ms. Von Lincoln, so you can go to the next one. This is, oh, the next screen actually. So you'll click FERPA and transcript recommendations, and this is what it looks like. Ah, there it is. Okay, so this is what the survey looks like when you go to it. So it's gonna give you all of the information that you need to read about it. And if you click yes under each one, then type your name and put the date, that will complete your FERPA survey for us to be able to release your transcripts and your recommendations, because both of those are considered your private record. So again, if you have any questions about this, you are welcome to email your counselor or even set up a call, and we can certainly discuss any concerns you have. And we do have those types of concerns every year. So don't think that it's something that you're crazy for thinking. All right, so while we're in Naviance, let's talk about finding our fit. There are a lot of really great research tools in Naviance, and this is how you find them. So you'll go to the Colleges tab, click Find Your Fit, And these are the options that you're going to come across. One more. There it is. Super Match Search, College Match, Scattergrams, Advanced College Search, and College Lookup. So if you are still researching, if you're still trying to figure out where your fit is, and remember, we are really big believers in square peg, square hole, not round peg and square hole, because you don't want to find a college that's going to be overwhelming to you, but you also don't want anything to be too easy. So that probable school that's right there in the middle that meets you right where you are, that's going to be your bread and butter. That's where you're going to truly thrive. So to help you find that, the Supermatch search gives you a bunch of different data points for you to start clicking around things that you want, things that you don't want, and it's going to populate a list and tell you the percentage of how that matches what you're looking for. Most of you have probably played with this. If you haven't, you absolutely have to. It's a really great research tool. College Match is interesting because it uses colleges that are on your colleges I'm thinking about list, and it breaks them down into categories. Colleges looking for students like you. How cool is that? Colleges other students like. So based on ones that you have that you like, maybe you check these out too. And then colleges that have accepted students like you. So how great would it be to go into this process thinking, you know what? I'm going to get accepted to this college. I'm not as concerned about it. Scattergrams is a really interesting data chart that shows anonymously Pope students who have applied in the past 5 years. I think we've been on Naviance now. What their GPA and their test scores were when they were either accepted, denied, or deferred. Now, do keep in mind that this is entered by Pope students. So if you see one crazy outlier up here or down here, I would just kind of keep that one out of the mix. The Advanced College Search. This is kind of an easier version of the Supermatch. So it's like you just pick things and it shows you a list. And then the College Lookup is just a simple way to be able to look up a college either by state or by name, and you just kind of type in and go from there. But these are really great research tools. So if you're still building your list, definitely check these out if you haven't yet. College fairs. So we are going to still do our mini fairs this year, and those are going to be the best for you to attend if you want to touch base with an admissions rep from a college you are applying to. Generally, with our mini fairs, the colleges that attend the reps that attend those are the first readers of applications. So it's really good to touch base with them, kind of introduce yourself, ask great questions, and then that way if they're reading your application, they're like, oh, I remember talking to this student. I think they'd be a good fit for our school. Also, the NACAC College Fairs, that's the National Association for College Admissions Counseling. They are doing 4 virtual fairs, and these are gigantic fairs, but it's really cool the way that they're doing it this year since they're being virtual. So when you sign up, virtualcollegefairs.org, when you sign up to attend on that day, when you look at the screen, it's got just like pages and pages of the pictures of the colleges, but then they also on the left side have a place where you can filter it down. So you can choose state, you can choose 2-year college, 4-year college, that kind of thing. And then when you click on it, it goes into a Zoom room with that college. Some colleges are giving full-on presentations about their school. Some colleges are just there waiting for people to ask questions. But definitely sign up for these because we just think college fairs are a great way for you to expand your horizon and, you know, look at those schools that maybe you haven't heard of before, but maybe they're a perfect fit for you. All right, Hope Scholarship Program. So hopefully, yes, that's like my most favorite joke of all time. Hopefully you've heard of this before. The Hope GPA is not on your transcript. That's kind of the first big thing that you need to know. The only place to find your Hope GPA is at gafutures.org. You have to create an account. You have to include your social security number and make sure that everything in that account is how it is on your transcript. For the Hope Scholarship, you have to have a 3.0 Hope GPA, which is English, Math, Science, Social Studies, Foreign Language. Only AP and dual enrollment classes receive a half of a quality point, but also only if you don't receive an A, because the highest Hope GPA you can get is a 4.0. The Zell Miller Scholarship, you have to have a 3.7 Hope GPA, and there's also a testing requirement. Now for this, we have not yet heard what they're gonna do with testing, so just know I don't know that answer, unfortunately. If Hope is part of your goal, it is your responsibility to plan your courses to make sure you meet the rigor. So generally, we have students who take all 4 years of on-level classes and they still meet Hope, but occasionally things go awry and they might not take 4 courses that are rigorous. And even if you have a 3.0, it won't matter. So if you want to double check on this, reach out to your counselor, but ultimately it is your responsibility to make sure that HOPE requirements are met. And then the HOPE grant and Zell Miller grant, those have no GPA requirement, but they're only at technical colleges. So for anybody who either wants to save money starting off or start off at a smaller school, this would be a great way to do that because it's basically free money. All right, I think that's everything on that screen. That's a lot on that screen. All right, but while we're speaking of scholarships, let's talk about scholarships in general. So there's 2 general types of scholarships, internal and external. I think this is the easiest way to view them. Internal scholarships are offered by the college. So it might be a merit-based scholarship. It might be something within a department, like a psychology scholarship. But those are offered by the college. External scholarships are everything else. And let me tell you, there are millions of dollars in scholarships that companies are giving away every year. You just have to find it. So back in the olden days, like my days, there was like a book and they're like, here you go, look through this book, or maybe you open it up and you point at something and you apply to that scholarship. You guys now have the internet and technology and you have a lot at your fingertips. So usually what I suggest is if there's something unique about you, Google that and scholarship. So left-handed scholarship, triplet scholarship, redheaded scholarship. You seriously would be so surprised you're going to find something. However, don't ever give payment. Don't ever give your social security number. You'll probably have to write an essay and fill out information about yourself. If you have to do much beyond that, be very, very cautious. Also in Naviance, if you go to scholarships and money and then scholarship list under the colleges tab, this is where we list scholarships that come into the counseling office, which tend to be a little bit more localized, whether it's to just our school, just our county, or like the metro Atlanta area. This is updated daily as we receive scholarships. I don't think there's much in there now, but you are welcome to go and look at it. Also in Naviance is the National Scholarship Search, and this is going to be similar to websites like CapEx and GA Futures, where they just kind of tell you everything that's out there. Maybe they ask you questions about yourself and then they send you scholarships, that kind of thing. But the bottom line is, if you put the research in to find them, you can find them, you can apply for them. It's just going to take extra time and extra effort from you. But there is information out there. And if you guys hear howling, that's my dog. She's very excited. Okay, so this is another really cool website. It's called raise.me. It's micro scholarships, but it's just a quick 1-minute video that will show you about it. And I was trying to, can you click play again? I was trying to turn the volume up. Oh, did I break it? Good Lord, of course I broke it. Maybe try going back a slide. So like I said, it's micro scholarships. It's not like you're going to get $10,000 from there, But if there's a college on there that you're really interested in, why not take a little bit of time and complete that? I mean, who couldn't use an extra $600 or $1,000 taken off of tuition? That's the way I see it. So the virtual senior workshops, I've kind of mentioned these, but these are for, you know, extra questions that you have after this presentation. That QR code there will take you directly to the form. This is also posted on the counseling blog under, it's a website now, it's not a blog, counseling website under academics in 12th grade. You can find the QR code there as well. But we will be doing sessions twice a week. Mondays at 1:45, so actually we're going to change these timings because of the new updated schedule that I hope you guys saw that's starting next week. But Mondays after basically your live sessions end, and then Fridays during the general lunchtime. So I'm sure you guys have seen that you kind of have 2 lunch times right now. This is during the general lunchtime for all students. We did begin these workshops this past Monday, so it's really just a drop in, ask any questions. If you want to drop in and you don't have questions, counselors will just kind of ask you where you are in your process and how we can help you. But we do intend on offering these every week during the fall semester because we know not everybody is ready to apply right now. Your colleges might be applications in January or even spring semester. So if we get to later in the fall, we do still plan to offer these senior workshops. Don't be surprised if you email your counselor with like this long list of college questions and they're like, you know what? I think the senior workshop would be a great place for you to ask these questions. We love for you guys to learn from each other. And sometimes students ask questions that another student's like, oh, that's a great question. I'm so glad you asked that. So senior workshops, sign up for them. It's basically just us counselors sitting ready and waiting to help you answer your questions or to get you going on your application process. All right, guys, here it is. Everything that you have been waiting for. I know that's the reason that most of you attended is just because you're ready to start requesting transcripts, but don't worry, that doesn't hurt my feelings. So first of all, I do have to tell you what is a transcript. Most colleges do require it as a part of the application. They're $2 for official transcripts. Official transcripts are signed, sealed, delivered, sent directly to institutions. Unofficial transcripts are what you should have received in the past couple of weeks. Raise your hand if you did receive your transcript and senior status in the mail. Yay, thank you for the hands. If you have not, you should probably email your counselor and find out what's going on with that. But your unofficial transcript, that's for your records. You really cannot send it to any institutions. You just use it for your own personal use. So when do you need to order transcripts? Every time you submit an application. At the end of the first semester, if a college mentions a mid-year transcript, by the way, if you use Common App, you're gonna have to send mid-year transcripts. And then also your final transcripts. That has your graduation date on it and it's required by whatever college you're attending as your proof of graduation. You order this in May, the first one is free. So now let's talk about how you can get your transcripts. Basic steps. So let's crack this down real easy and then we'll go into detail. You got to submit your application. In Naviance, you add the college under colleges I'm applying to. You complete the transcript request and pay $2 in My Payments Plus. That is simple. And honestly, guys, being virtual has made this a little more straightforward than it has been in the past. So it really is as simple as you send in your application, you go into Naviance, you go to My Payments Plus. But here's what it looks like, just kind of broken down step by step. I'm not going to show you how to submit your application. Hopefully we've gone over that, right? So there's 2 ways to add the college to the colleges I'm applying to. If during junior advisement last year, or even in your own research process, you already added colleges to the colleges I'm thinking about, you can start there. So you would check off next to the college and you would click Move to Application List. And then this is the box that pops up. You'll see the college is already on there. And then the next 2 questions will be aligned to the college. So Piedmont College, for example, the drop downs on that menu, I think said regular decision enrolling. Those are their only 2 options. And then under how will you submit your application, this will be the different ways that the college accepts application. So if we'll go to the next screen, Ms. Von Lincoln, that's where we kind of get into a little more depth. So that gets you to the colleges I'm applying to section. If a college is not on your thinking about list and you want to just jump straight to this, that's fine too. You'll click, oh, before I go to it though, if you are applying to a Common App school, this big pink bar is going to show up. You need to match accounts. That is as simple as entering your birth date and the email address for your Common App account and clicking match. It takes, I think 3 seconds, but maybe a little bit longer to type your email. So that's on this page. I don't want to forget to mention that. But if you're adding a college onto this page, you'll click that pink plus sign, and then it's going to pop up the box that's asking you about the college. So in this section, you can type in the name of the college, but you need to type like the full name. So if I was looking for University of Miami, I couldn't just type Miami. I have to type University of M, and then I'll see it start to pop up. But once I select Miami, the app type will show me their early action deadline, their regular deadline, and I believe they even have early decision. So it's going to show all of that information because it's aligned to the college. And then how are you going to submit your application? Quick note here, if you are applying to colleges using the Coalition app in Naviance, for some reason they don't give that as an option. So you will have to select direct to the institution on this page. Okay, check off I've submitted my application, click add application. I promise when you get into it, and students, if you've already applied, you are welcome to go into Naviance now and see what this looks like. It's so much simpler than I'm even making it out to be. So then once you've added the college into the colleges I'm applying to, you're going to go to My Payments Plus. Now, typically in the past, we would suggest that students do this entire process, but we understand that My Payments Plus is a parent's login. So better yet, do it together. I mean, family time, right? Everybody's looking for opportunities to like talk about college and hang out with their family. So when you log in, you'll go to Events and Activities. You'll click Activities and Services, and you'll see it says Transcripts, please read the details. And in the yellow, it should have the student's name. I just covered this one up for privacy. And then it's going to pull up what's listed on the right side here. It's going to ask you to enter quantity, and then it's going to tell you if you want a personal transcript, how to do that through this request. So if you've applied to 5 colleges already and you're ready to send transcripts, then you enter quantity of 5 and you click Add to Cart. And when you do that, it's going to populate a new form for every college that the quantity that you've entered. So my sample student is 3 colleges. So you'll see that 1 is done, 2 is done, and I'm on college 3 of 3. So the questions that you need to answer, you need to enter the student's email address. And the reason it's the student's email is because if something for some reason doesn't match between Naviance and My Payments Plus, we're going to email the student to try to sort that out. The student's first name and last name should populate on here. Again, I just blocked it out for privacy reasons. You're going to type in the name of the college, or if it is a scholarship or another organization like NCAA, type that in here. And you're going to enter the application deadline. If your college has a rolling application deadline, I would strongly suggest that you just pick a date, maybe a week or 2 away, and put that as the deadline. Please, please, please do not write rolling. Here, you'll notice we differentiate between Coalition and Common App. So if you applied via Coalition, please do select it here. The next question, how do you want the transcript sent? 95% of colleges are going to be sent electronically, but occasionally you will find one that wants it to be mailed. Usually like international schools or Canadian schools, they want those to be mailed. Also, if you want to pick it up at the school, you can do that. I don't think it's a great idea because most colleges want to have them electronically, but if you really want to, you can absolutely do that. The next question, is a council recommendation or secondary school report required? We're going to go over those steps in a second, but if the college does require it, click yes. If the college says optional and you want it sent, click yes. If it says optional and you don't want it sent, click no. The best way to decide between that is that bell curve that Ms. Von Lincoln talked about. If you're kind of teetering on the edge of getting into like, you know, the safety or the probable, then a counselor recommendation is a great way to push you into a better viewing for you. If you're really just kind of above and beyond and it's not required, it's just one less thing that you have to do. If you answer yes to the counselor app being required, have you completed the packet that's required? Again, we're going to go over that. Then you need to enter your initials below just to show that you have added it in Naviance. You understand that needs to be done. If you hadn't, open a new tab, add it real fast, and then you can go back and initial. And then you'll type your full name, which is basically your signature since we're virtual and we can't get you to sign it in person right now. So that is the My Payments Plus part. And then, oh, this is an important note. For schools like the University of South Carolina, which unfortunately just serves as a perfect example, and because we have many students who apply to it, even though they want student self-reported grades, they actually require a counselor report. So in order for us to kind of follow FERPA and make sure we're doing everything accurately, you still have to go through the transcript request process that we just outlined in order to kind of request us to send your records. So basically, even though University of South Carolina doesn't require a transcript, you still have to go through the process. And here's kind of the funny thing. For Common App, if you apply to University of South Carolina through Common App, we can't not send the transcripts. So it's just kind of odd that they're doing that. But either way, this is the process for places like South Carolina. So if you run into another one that requires some sort of a report to be sent, but not a transcript, please do just follow the transcript request process. Counselor recommendations. So first of all, counselor recommendations can be called a few different things. The two main things are counselor recommendation and secondary school report. Most importantly, know if it's required by the college or not. If it's not required, don't send one. If you're applying to schools in state that are not the super highly competitive schools, you're not going to have to do this. It's mostly just going to be your demographic information you submit, and they look at everything that you send. If you do need a counselor recommendation, those 3 items are really very helpful for us to write the best recommendation for you. The first one is the student self-assessment. The second one is the parent assessment. Both of these can be found under the About Me tab, and then surveys not yet started. The student one's in the student portal, the parent one is in the parent portal. And also students, we ask you to send us a resume, and that's because a lot of colleges ask us for your extracurricular activities, your leadership, things like that, and we want to be able to answer that. One thing to understand is differentiating between a teacher rec and a counselor rec. The teacher rec wants to see how you have been in the classroom. It's very, singular, very tight. The counselor rec wants your world view. They want us to tell them everything you are that maybe hasn't shown up in your application somehow. So that's why we need information from you. Some of you we've only met like once or twice before, and we want to make sure to present you in the best light. Okay, so then deadlines. For the counselor rec, it's really important that you give us enough time to write the recommendation. Keep in mind there's 480 some odd of you in the senior class, and so that means each counselor has about 100, and if every one of you requests a recommendation, that's a lot of time for us to write them. We are happy to do it, don't get me wrong, we just need the time. So in order to request a counselor recommendation, we need to have the student self-assessment, parent assessment, and resume no later than 2 weeks prior to the college deadline, okay? So we gotta work backwards to determine those deadlines. And the way you work backwards is you plot your application deadline in the calendar and then count up. So lots of colleges have this October 15th early action deadline, right? And that's gonna be South Carolina, UGA. Those are the 2 biggest ones. I don't wanna speak wrong because I think like Georgia Tech changed theirs recently. But I know UGA in South Carolina, October 15th. So the actual 2 weeks before would be October 1st, but that's during September break. So we're not even going to say you have to have it turned in then. So that means our counselor recommendation deadline for that application deadline is October 5th, which is 2 weeks prior. But the sooner you complete your information, the higher you go on our list to get your rec turned in sooner. But this means you've submitted your application, completed the self-assessment, asked your parent to do the parent assessment, and uploaded your resume or created one in Naviance, and requested your transcript in Naviance, and paid $2 in My Payments Plus, I didn't update that slide, by October 5th for the October 15th deadline. And that's the day we return from September break. So just be very mindful of that. And this next slide I really hate, but I just have to say it. So let me just throw it out there. Procrastination on your part does not constitute an emergency on our part. Every year, guys, every single year on October 15th, someone comes into the counseling office and says, I just applied to UGA and I didn't know they require a counselor rec. Okay. Well, that means that I have to like stop everything I'm doing in the moment, sit down and write a recommendation for that person, and try to just put it out of my head that they just came in there and asked this and pretended like UGA didn't need a counselor rec. But that's okay. People make mistakes. We write the recs. It's not like we say no, but your recommendation is guaranteed to be completed by the paperwork or materials deadline if you complete the requirements by the counselor deadline. Like I said, this is really just us asking for a little bit of understanding and a little bit of respect of how many we have to write, and knowing we want to write yours, but we just need the time to do it. It may not be done the day after you turn your materials in, but it will be done by our deadline. So please, please just try to be respectful, and please try to get your information in by our deadline so that we can just take our time and try to write everything that we need to in the right timeline. So usually we include this slide about UGA applications because this presentation is done before they open, but the UGA application actually opened 2 days ago, so this isn't quite as relevant anymore. But Ultimately, it seems like the window is short, but the essays have been open since the summer. So if you do want to see the UGA essays even before you open the application, you can Google UGA 2021 essays and it'll bring you to the website that's on here. And you can see the essays and you can start to write them even before you even open the application. But just remember, the sooner you complete your counselor packet, the sooner your counselor can begin working on your recommendation. And that means that you'll have a complete application showing in your portal, your student portal, that much faster. Don't worry, we're getting close to the end. So remember, if you have questions, please add them in the chat so that way we can address them at the end. So quickly, while we're speaking of essays, you need to write about something that's important to you, something that has had an impact, but don't recount, reflect. So what this means is something that students write about a lot is mission trips. I get it. I wish I could have gone on mission trips. They sound like an amazing opportunity that can really just be life-changing for you and for whoever you're working with. But please do not write an essay just saying, oh yeah, we went to Honduras and I did this, this, and this. That's not going to get you anywhere. You need to just think about it. You need to reflect. How did it impact you? How is it going to impact your future? How has it changed you? What was that experience like for you? So just the difference between recounting and reflecting. Also be cautious with being funny because like you guys probably know from text messages, sometimes funny doesn't always come across right. Start early and write several drafts. Try not to repeat what's in your application already. The essay is an opportunity for you to stand outside of that black and white, right? Everybody always says, this is not me. I'm not an on-paper person. Use the essay as your opportunity to show everything that you are besides what they've already asked for. Also answer the question being asked. That might seem silly, but that actually happens quite a lot. And then have at least one other person edit your essay. Us counselors are always happy to edit your essay and to read it over. Again, just try to give us a little bit of time and not giving it to us like the day before you have to turn it in. Teacher recommendations. Again, know if it's required by the college or not. If it's not required, do not send one. A really easy way to see if it's required or not is actually in Naviance. If it's a Common App school, it's going to show you this is how many are required, this is how many are recommended. If there's dashes going all the way across, don't send one. I can't tell you how many teachers come to me and they're like, why can't I send a rec to KSU? That's because they don't require one. And here's the thing, if a college does not require a teacher rec, it's probably because they don't have the manpower to read them or to go through them. So what that means is if you send a college a teacher rec and they don't require one, it actually might go in the trash. And I would hate for the time you spent and the teacher spent to go in the trash. So if it is required, make sure you ask your teacher before you request it in Naviance. They don't want something just to pop up in their email inbox like, oh, Judy wants me to send a recommendation here. Well, I mean, gosh, I haven't talked to her in 2 years. So send them an email, see if they're willing to have a Zoom call. Just talk to them about why you loved their class, what stuck out to you. Ask them if they'd be willing to do it. And then also make sure that you're picking a teacher that that can speak to your ability to basically work independently and to face challenges. You don't want to pick a teacher in a class that you just kind of coasted through and everything just came easy to you. Even if you got like a B or even a C in a class and you worked really hard for it and you overcame struggle, that would be the teacher that would be the best one to write your recommendation. Make sure you tell your teacher which colleges you're replying to. And also give them time too. Try to give them 2 weeks. Some of them may have their own deadlines, but just be respectful of that time as well. So again, if you've already talked to your teachers, if you're ready to submit the request, if you have Naviance open, you can do it right now. So for students, you'll log in, you'll go to the colleges tab, click apply to college, and then letters of recommendation. And then from there, I think it's actually pretty straightforward. You click add request, you find your teacher, and you pick the colleges you want to send to. I would strongly recommend against selecting that button that says all current and future colleges, because that just kind of becomes a nightmare in Naviance. I wish they would just take it away. But if you like apply to 2 colleges today and then you apply to 2 more next week, you just go right back in, you click it, you add the college, it sends the teacher a new email. That's what I would strongly suggest. Remember, a thank you goes a long way. There's a little note section at the bottom, and then you'll click submit request. Really that simple. And remember, this PowerPoint will be on it actually already is on the counseling website under academics and 12th grade. And you'll see where you can play it right there by yourself. And like I said, if you really want to hear me and Ms. Von Lincoln again, this recording should be up probably sometime tomorrow. So This is coming kind of to a close, so remember, add your questions if we didn't address them into the chat or send them directly to Ms. Von Lincoln. But just some quick do's and don'ts for 12th grade families when it comes to working together. Do, families, encourage your student to start applications early. This is the first thing that we hear from seniors every spring. I wish I would have started earlier. But you know what? Here you are, early September, starting early. So you're already one step ahead of the game. Don't do your students' college applications for them. I hope this is funny for you. It's meant to be funny, honestly. For anybody who knows me, I do try to find humor in everything. Please, please, please do not do these for your student. I know that it's easier for them. I know that you just want life to be smooth and beautiful, but let's be serious. Has life been smooth and beautiful and perfect for any of us? No. I wish it has, but it hasn't. So let them learn, stand by their side. We're gonna get to that. Do visit colleges if you can or if you haven't already. Lots are doing virtual tours. Try your best to do the virtual tour of a college. If they allow you on campus, which some may, definitely go and visit if you're able to. September break is a great time to go and visit colleges if they allow it. However, if you do go on visits, let the student ask the questions. Again, we're just trying to encourage, self-efficacy and standing up on your own and taking responsibility, all those beautiful things that they're going to have to do as soon as they leave high school. Do encourage variety in college applications. We talked about reach, probable, and safety. We love for students to have 1 to 2 out of each of those areas. So that way you're always reaching for the stars and you've always got a backup plan, but you're really looking for that meet in the middle. And that's where, the great colleges are going to live for you. However, please don't pressure students to go to certain schools that might not be a good fit for them as an individual. Guys, I hate hearing from our community that kids feel pressured, and sometimes they say it's us, and so we always are trying to think about ways that we can improve that for students. But also know that when students are talking about, oh, well, I'm going to take a picture with my sweatshirt with my friends on Instagram, and maybe they found a college that's a perfect fit for them, but nobody's ever heard of before, I think that's beautiful. But for teenagers who are very social people and their friends are very important, that might feel a little pressurized. So just be careful about that. Do complete the FAFSA and discuss realistic finances when available. So we say this now because if a student wants to apply, oh, by the way, most expensive college in the US, Harvey Mudd College, costs like $75,000 a year. If your student wants to apply there and that just seems kind of ridiculous to you, maybe we talk about it now. Maybe it's not even a good place to apply to. Just discuss what's realistic. However, don't do scholarships applications for your students. They can handle it. Sit with them. If they have questions, please don't do it for them. Please. Do support your child throughout the entire application process. Guys, I'm not trying to take families out of this. I promise you I am not. I want you guys to work together. So you can support them, but don't wait until April and ask them if they've thought about what they want to do after high school. I don't think that's going to happen for anybody that's here, because obviously you're here listening to me bark on for like an hour. But let's start the conversation now, right? Family time conversation, dinner conversation. Let's talk about it now. Do give help to your student if they ask a question. I told you, I don't want to take you out of it. Help them, sit with them, annoy them. They're going to love it in the future. Please don't do their college applications for them. Please, please find this funny, and please find it funny because you would never do it. If they need help, support them. If you are having trouble with it and you don't know how to support them, send them to us. We'll help support them. That's what we're here for too. Do help your student look at acceptances realistically. Again, there's coming from this realistic side. Maybe this is where the finances really come into it. However, don't make the decision for your student. They're not going to be happy once they get there. It's just not going to be a good fit for them. So make the decision together. Make it a collaborative decision. You're realistic. They're not. Let's be serious. I love teenagers, but they're not. They're impulsive. Use it together. That's the best way to do things. Last, do encourage growth mindset and self-reliance, but don't do everything for your student. Resist. They will be on their own next year. Unless you want to go back to that whole option of like living on your couch watching Netflix. I mean, if you're good with that, or if you're going to try to go to college with them, I'm not going to argue with you, but I'm telling you, we've got to raise these self-reliant, ready to take on the world, next generation of leaders. And the best way that we can do that is to support them now and not to just completely cut them off when they go off to post-secondary. So that's my soapbox. I'm off of it. I'm seriously sweating in here now because I get all fired up when that happens. Questions. So Ms. Von Lincoln, do you have any sent to you individually? I know you've been controlling my screen and this has been a little different than usual.
No.
If you need to leave, thank you. You do not have to stay. If you don't want to hear the questions answered, you do not have to. So thank you for coming. Those of you who do want to stay, though, we'll answer questions. I'll do the ones from the chat. And then when we get to the end, if anybody actually wants to unmute, say hi, or ask a question that way, we'll go there too. All right, so go ahead, Ms. Van Lincoln, question.
No, I think the only one was wanting to know where we could get the slides. So they are already on the website, and yeah.
Well, amazing. Okay, it looks like I got a couple. Oh, someone said I need to share computer audio. You guys, I can send you the raise.me video if you missed it, because it is a really good one.
We got a question about how many transcripts do you need to buy? And the answer to that would be however many colleges you're applying to.
Yep, that would be the right answer, Ms. Von Langen. You're absolutely right about that. So it is $2 per school that you have applied to and you want to send a transcript to. However, the first one in May, the first final one, will be free. I have a question sent to me. If a student took a foreign language class in middle school, do colleges factor those grades into the core GPA? That's a big no, but a great question. Thank you for the family who sent me the thank you for a great night. Thank you for attending. No, colleges do not factor middle school grades into GPA. Also on the Pope transcript, they do show as middle school grades and they give a numeric grade, but they do not count into the Pope GPA either. So really it's just getting you into the next level of the class. Great question though. So if anybody wants to, we don't have too many people left in here. If you wanted to unmute and ask a question, you're welcome to. Otherwise, thank you for attending. Oh, my thing's dinging here. Hold on. You got anything else going on? Oh, thank you for the info. You're welcome. How do you really know how to decide if you want to do early admissions? Okay, so I'm guessing this question is for early action, not early decision. What we are told for early action is that 3 things are possible. You either get accepted, deferred, or denied. And my understanding is if you get denied during early, they think you would have automatically gotten denied during regular. So the best way to kind of decide is to check out that bell curve like Ms. Von Lincoln talked about. If you fit into the yellow area, even if you're kind of on the other, the lower side of the yellow area, I just say apply early if you're ready. If you want to go ahead and send your information, if you're ready to send it all off, get it done, get it out of your way. And then worst case scenario, especially for a college like UGA, if they defer you, all they're going to do is look at all of your other information and they should already have it. So then you're just kind of higher up in the decision process than just applying regular. I got a few more questions and then I will open it up to you guys. Let's see. My counselor mentioned that she would need my social security number since we're virtual now. What's the best way to get that information to her? I would actually suggest emailing Miss Squire. She's our records clerk. Her contact information is on the counseling website. It's just easier than me telling you lisa.squire. I believe since we're virtual that you can take a picture of your social security card and email it to her, but email Miss Squire, Lisa Squire, and she'll be able to tell you the best route for that. If for the core GPA, if you take 4 languages, are they all calculated into the core GPA? That kind of depends on the college. Some colleges may say that they're only going to look at the CPC credits. So if they say they're only going to look at 4 English, 4 math, 3 social studies, 4 science, and 2 foreign language, they may only look at 2. So that's really going to be dependent on the college. If you're not able to see that easily on their website, that's another great question just to call the admissions office and ask them directly. I'm trying to get my transcript sent through Naviance, but My Payments Plus, which I just set up, doesn't show the charge. Okay, the student who asked that, if you're able, call the counseling office tomorrow and tell us about that. We might be able to get the bookkeeper on the line and see if she can help because I'm not sure about that one. It's a good question though, because that's strange.
And Mrs. Silva, I've got another Naviance kind of question. It's
okay.
That it won't let them match accounts.
It won't?
So they're going to come, I think, to the workshop tomorrow. But if you already have an idea of how that works.
No, I mean, typically it's just how I showed it on the screen where it's a big pink bar and you click match accounts and it takes you to a new screen and then you enter your date of birth and you enter email. Is the person who asked that, are you still on here?
Yes, I'm on here.
So Morgan, did you see that pink bar?
Yes, I did. And it said, it just said unavailable.
Have you created your Common App account?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, actually, I just thought of something. You probably have to go through the FERPA process. So I
Okay.
think that the college workshop tomorrow would be a good one for you to go to, but sometimes you have to get like far enough in your Common App application in order to then match it in Naviance.
Okay.
Sometimes we've experienced that.
Okay. Thank you.
But yeah, it's a great question, and the workshop is a great way to answer that, because then you can show your screen and we can check it out and see what's going on. Thank you. All right, so any other, oh, I guess I don't need to be showing the weird husky face anymore. Any other questions? There's only a few people left on here. You're welcome to unmute if you want. You don't have to. I'm sure there's some people on here who've like forgot they signed on and they hear my voice in the background and they're just like, what's that voice talking? All right, well, if there's no other questions, thank you all so much for coming. Hopefully we can see you soon, and you know, we'll phase back in for those who are ready, but don't hesitate to reach out if there's absolutely anything we can do. You guys have a great evening. Take care. All right.
Want to stop recording?
Hey, great job, by the way.
Thanks.
Yeah, you did very well. I'm quite used to having interns who are very nervous about presentations. So when you were going, my husband was texting me and he's telling me about how.
Wait, hold on. It's still recording. I just want to get them.